Hello and welcome back to another video on the Football Zone and to a weekend review, reviewing all the Premier League and Championship actions. Let's get straight into it. Manchester United won, Southampton won, and Manchester United dropping points once again. Jadon Sancho gave them the lead in the 21st minute, but that was cancelled out by Che Adams' goal in the 48th minute. And yeah, it completes a great weekend for Southampton, a win at Spurs and a draw at Manchester United. Really good for them. I'm looking for a top 10 finish, but United dropping points again, just so poor. It can't keep happening. But moving on then to a great result for Brighton as they defeated Watford 2-0. Neil Moore playing the 44th minute and Danny Welbeck in the 82nd minute gave Brighton the 3 points. And for Brighton, really solid result. List them up to ninth. They're having a great season. But for Watford, just really poor here. Totally outclassed by a Brighton side. And for Roy Hodgson, 3 games in, it sounds absolutely ridiculous. But it's just not working. And can you see Pozzo acting? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Everton 3, Leeds 0 was the score at Goodison Park in a dominant win for Everton. And it really was a statement of intent. For Frank Lampard, Coleman, Keane and Gordon with the goals, and for Everton a big win, just moves them away from the relegation zone slightly. They've got a nice little cushion now. For Leeds, really poor performance here. Everton totally outclassed them, not getting sucked into a relegation battle quite yet, you wouldn't say, but they can't afford too many more performances like that. They were dreadful here. Moving on then to a game at the Brentford Community Stadium, which was slightly less dull than the other ones. Brentford 0, Crystal Palace 0, and not a lot to choose between the two sides. Wasn't the greatest game I've ever seen. I think that's a fair statement. I would say a draw in the end was probably a fair result. I think both teams, Brentford will be relatively happy to stop the rot. Palace may be slightly disappointed they couldn't take advantage of Brentford's poor form, but at the end of the day it wasn't the greatest result, and both teams weren't at their best. But moving on then, Norwich 0, Manchester City 4 was a score at Carrow Road. Raheem Sterling with a hat-trick here, 31st, 70th and 90th minute after a rebound from a penalty. Phil Foden also scored in the 48th minute to complete a dominant win for City. I mean, for them this is always going to be a game which you'd expect them to win quite comfortably, and they duly delivered. But for Norwich, disappointing for them, but at the end of the day this is going to be a free hit. Maybe they would have wanted to keep the scoreline slightly lower, but what else can you expect really against a team like City? It finished Burnley 0, Liverpool 1 on Sunday in the Premier League. The only goal of the game came in the 40th minute through Fabinho, and a solid win for Liverpool. Not their best performance by any margin. Burnley actually did well here and gave them a game. Good to see Burnley really competing with the top sides now. Definitely a lot more solid than they have been recently. But for Liverpool, after United dropped points to them, as Jurgen Klopp said, it's banana skin avoided. So they'll be very pleased with the work. Just keeps them maximum points, trying to catch up with City. Easier said than done though. But moving on then to another huge win for Newcastle as they beat Aston Villa 1-0. It looked like Newcastle had a penalty in the first half, but that was given a free kick. No problem, as Kieran Trippier smashed it home past Emi Martinez. It took a deflection, but you kind of do have to question the keeper there. Watkins obviously equalised in the 61st minute. For me, a controversial decision not to allow it, but it is what it is. It was a 50-50 decision. Personally, I would have given it, but I think it could have gone either way. But a huge win for Newcastle. They're definitely getting away from the relegation zone now. Moving on then to a short result as it finished Tottenham 0, Wolves 2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and the damage was done in the first 20 minutes with goals from Raul Jimenez and Leandro Dendoncker. Great win for Wolves this. Tottenham, they probably had the majority of the game, but that's because they were 2-0 down after 20 minutes. Wolves were always going to sit back and just soak up the pressure, and they did that well. Excellent performance from Wolves, and they're now above Tottenham in the table. Tottenham still do have a game in hand, but it just shows what great season they're having. Moving on then, Leicester 2, West Ham 2 was the score at the King Power Stadium. Jarrod Bowen in the 10th minute gave West Ham a lovely goal, get him in the England squad. Then goals from Tillemans from the spot and Pereira gave Leicester a 2-1 lead. It looked like they won before a late corner, which was scored by Craig Dawson, giving West Ham the point and keeping them in the top 4. I mean, with Leicester's form, you could argue it's 2 points drop, but Leicester's still a tough place to go. I say it's 1 point game for them. I think both teams will be relatively content, except for the late goal, of course, on Leicester's behalf. Moving on then to the Championship, and it finished Huddersfield 0, Sheffield United 0 at the John Smith Stadium. And not a lot between the two sides. Really not a lot, because the draw was definitely a fair result here. And yeah, I think both teams will be relatively happy with that. Huddersfield, obviously staying in the playoff places, just 4 points ahead of Sheffield United, but Sheffield United have 3 games in hand. So yeah, maybe Huddersfield will be slightly more disappointed, but on the whole, I think both teams will be relatively content. Moving on then to Millwall 2, Cardiff 1 at the Den, and yeah, all goals coming late on here. Wallace gave Millwall the lead in the 73rd minute before Bennett in the 82nd minute doubled it. Cardiff got a late consolation goal in stoppage time, but it wasn't enough, and Millwall held on to the win. And yeah, it's a solid win for Millwall because obviously they haven't been on the greatest run of form recently, so they'll be very, very pleased with that. Hopefully they start the climb back up the table, but for Cardiff, after a good run of form, it is disappointing, but not the end of the world. Moving on then, Reading 2, Coventry 3 was the score in a crazy game at the Medeski Stadium. Zhao gave Reading the lead in the 23rd minute before Dom Hyam equalised in first half stoppage time, and straight after that, Coventry took the lead through Rose after the break, but Yalom equalised soon after, but Junior Hoylett was sent off for a second yellow soon after that, and then pretty much straight away after that, Maddison scored, and yeah, that was about it. Yeah, disappointing for Reading because obviously it's a game that they really are competing in and they need to pick up points, but for Coventry it's a solid win. But moving on then to Peterborough 0, Preston 1 at the Western Home Stadium, and yeah, Archer with the only goal of the game in the 80th minute, so really solid result for Preston. Good form under Ryan Lowe continues, but for Peterborough it's such a disappointing result, isn't it? Yeah, they'll be absolutely gutted with that after holding them off for so long. And yeah, a bit like Reading, they just need points desperately. And Peterborough are definitely a side in the ascendancy here, so it must be so frustrating for them really. But moving on then, it finished Forest 2, Stoke 2 at the City Ground, and Brennan Johnson gave Forest lead in the 56th minute. With their form, you probably would expect them to go on and win it quite comfortably, but it wasn't to be. Josh Mazur equalised in the 68th minute for Stoke, and then Bryce Sample was given a red card, and Lewis Baker scored a penalty, and surely you thought Stoke would win from here, but no, Yates in the 92nd minute equalised, and Forest has just done never say die issue, but Stoke will be gutted, they should have won that. Moving on then, Middlesbrough 4, Derby 1 was the score at the Riverside, and Butchland with an own goal in the 50th minute gave Borough the lead, but Bird equalised in the 39th minute, and then 2 late goals from Connolly and Crooks in the first half, pretty much sealed the win. Watmore got a goal late on in the second half, and yeah, for Borough in 6th place, yeah, solid enough win for them. They'll be very pleased with that. But Derby, yeah, just dropping back into the relegation zone. Reading and Peterborough lost, so not the end of the world. This was always going to be a free hit. But moving on then, Hull 0, Fulham 1 was the score at the FKM Stadium. But I can't get my words out. But yeah, the only other game coming in the 57th minute through Alexander Mitrovic, and yeah, that guy is just incredible, isn't he? Yeah, 31 goals already this season, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And Fulham, yeah, 6 points clear at the Championship table, just going along nicely, absolutely flying at the minute, so they'll be super happy. But moving on then, the score was Blackpool 1, Bournemouth 2 at Bloomfield Road, and yeah, Josh Barlow gave Blackpool the lead in the 37th minute, and it looked like we were going to win it before Jamal Lowe and Zakiri Dembele, 2 late goals, 86th and 95th minute, gave Bournemouth the win, and what a huge win this was for Bournemouth. Such a confidence booster as well, getting to 2 late goals and give them a really nice lead in the automatic race, and so they'll be super happy with that really. But moving on then, it finished Birmingham 3, Luton 0 at St Andrews. Junior Bacuna in the 25th minute gave Birmingham the lead before Lyle Taylor and Hernandez scored in the second half to give Birmingham the win. And yeah, with recent form, certainly didn't see this coming, but yeah, for Birmingham, they'll be super happy with that. Lyle Taylor's looking like a really good signing, and Bacuna for that matter, but for Luton, so disappointing really, because they've been on a great run, and yeah, just kind of maybe has reasonable work to do in the playoff race. But moving on into definitely the shock result of the weekend, I'd say probably more than the last one. Barnsley 1, QPR 0. I mean, like, these last 2 results just show why we love the Championship. Domingos Aquina with the goal for Barnsley, and yeah, what a great result for them. 74th minute, and yeah, it just shows they never say die attitude, and they deserved it here. They were outstanding, but for QPR, yeah, just so frustrating. It means Barnsley are only 5 points behind Reading in 21st, one off Derby with a game in hand. Could they do it? You never know. It finished Swansea 3, Bristol City 1 in the Championship on Sunday. Vyman with the goal in the 42nd minute gave Bristol City the lead, but in the second half, goals from Obafemi, Christie and Pirro gave Swansea the win. And yeah, it's a solid win for Swansea. Their first one in a while. 2 wins in 3 now, actually, sorry, because I forgot about the Blackburn game. So yeah, they're slowly starting to pick up, which is good for them. But Bristol City, their form's kind of been average recently. But it's a good win for Swansea. Hope they can get more consistent now. But moving on then to the game on Monday, and it finished West Brom 0, Blackburn 0, and Steve Bruce's first home game. Not the best game this, to be honest. West Brom, you'd say, probably slightly shaded it. But in the end, you'd say a draw was probably the fair result, just with how little chances the teams created, really. But yeah, Blackburn, they are slipping away from the top 2 race now. West Brom, they do need to start picking up wins really to be in the race for the autos, for the playoffs. Sorry, you do feel. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, your thoughts, comments down below to follow on to things scripts me for daily football news and subscribe to my channel on the screen around there. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.